Hello gorgeous people! Today I'm back with another project using Jane Davenport supplies. This one's a little bit different though. It's an art journal page in my travel art journal. Now in this project I'll be showing you 3 different ways to use the gorgeous Jane Davenport Colorsticks and 2 different ways to use the palette Pastels, which are absolutely gorgeous. I encourage you to run out and buy the Mineral Eyes palette right this very second. There's a link below because it is just gorgeous. Wait till you see it. So let's get started on my Spirit Girl art journal page. And today I'd like to create a journal page using some of Jane's Washi Girls washi sheet. So I've started by cutting out bits and faces that I might be able to use. Now the little journal I'm using is a bit smaller than normal, so I'm going to have to be very mindful of where I put things and how big they are. So I think this is going to be too big. It's going to take up the whole page. So this will have to go to one side and I'll use that later. So that leaves me with these 2 gorgeous girls to choose from. And I can either choose this sort of one with vaguely pinker undertones or this whiter face. Now, considering what I'm going to be putting with this, I think I'm going to choose this whiter face. And all I've done when I was cutting it out is sketch sort of a jawline on here and a neck, just so I could see sort of how it would sit and how it would look. So I'm going to start with this. I may or may not end up using the scraps from my Washi Girls sheet on this project. I'll have to wait and see. Alright, so I'm about to let you in on one of my little secrets. I don't always like drawing directly on the paper to begin with. I prefer sketching on tracing paper to get my shape and outline correct first, and then transferring this onto my journal page. And it just lets me have a look on camera and play with, especially things like this. You want to sort of get the forehead proportions right to the image. It's nice to be able to lift it up and see where it starts to look natural. For me that's about here, and as you can see I'm going to give her a little hat with some ears because it's going to be sort of an animal themed page. It also lets me play with the orientation. I can have a bit of a fiddle and see where I like it best on the page, if I like it up high or down low, and see where I want it to sit. So I use a whole lot of reference photos to sort of get shapes and ideas for how I'd like things to look. So I get this right and I can then go and apply it to my paper and then start filling in and creating the final image. So for this one I'd also like to add a little bear. So once I've got the position of my face correct, I can then figure out where and how to incorporate the little bear on the page as well. So originally the little bear was going to be her spirit, but I'm thinking now that she might be his. Now that I know what I'm going to do, I'm just going to transfer this to the page using some graphite paper or some transfer paper. Alright, close enough to my marks. So once you've got the outlines transferred to your paper, the next thing you should do is using either a Jane Davenport Incredible pen or a carbon pen is to outline your image. I'm going to do that right now before I do anything else. Once the basic outline is transferred, start adding in some little details to make it your own. And that is the basis for my page. And as you can see, just adding a bit of extra something to that gorgeous Jane Davenport image has really made it unique and given it a whole look of its own. So add in some colour using a watercolour pencil, and mostly this is just to get some grounding and some sort of patterning up into the little hood area. Now I'm not trying to be too precise because I don't really want it to be. I'd like to try and keep this quite loose, quite pale, and then accent it afterwards. I'm not even going for realistic colours here. I'm really trying to match the face colour. Alright, so now that I've got some base colour down, I'm going to go in with my Colorsticks. And these will blend absolutely beautifully with that pencil that I've already laid down. So I've got the 2 different sets. I have Soul Window and Silky Skin. So I'm going to start with rice paper. So the 3 ways that I'm going to be using my colour sticks today are, number 1, scribbling on a piece of paper and then using that as a palette. So that's the first one. It allows you to really control exactly how much colour you've got on the brush, how light, how dark the colour is. It's fantastic. It makes it really easy to use. So that's the first one. Now the really beautiful thing is that watercolour will just soak right in. Alright, while I let that layer dry, I'm just going to add some colour to the little bear. Alright, I'm going to go totally unreal and add some of the Deep Truth. Very, very lightly, mind you. I'm just going to blend this in with the purple pencil that's already there. So just keep blending that watercolour pencil and the gorgeous colour stick together to get some incredibly unique blends and colours. Trust me, it's amazing. Now the key here is layer, layer, layer. And try and keep those edges soft. It's not always easy. I cheat by going back afterwards and blending it out. It's not really cheating, but it certainly makes it a bit easier for me. Now that carbon pen won't shift on the watercolour paper, but you might find that it shifts a little bit on top of the washi. Just work with it. If you get any little bit of dark areas, just consider it a little bonus. And of course, if there's any bits that are sort of too dark, blot with paper towel. Now, once you've got the base layer of colour down, go back in and add a tiny bit more of that gorgeous deep colour stick. And just do it very gently, just to help with the shadows. Now I'd like a little bit more purple, so I'm going to go in with the, and I'm just going to add a little bit of this in here as well. Oh yeah, perfect. Nice soft snow, at least I hope. Nice soft snow. I think my little bear's almost done. Isn't he gorgeous? So I've just blended out the nice soft snow here. I'm just going to add a touch of the Eccentric in here, just so that the colours sort of more matching. And a tiny bit of that gorgeous Deep Truth. Alright, so that's my hint of snow and my gorgeous little polar bear. Hopefully you can all tell that he's a little polar bear. All that I really need to do to him now is come back in and add some highlights at some point so I can move back onto my Jane girl. Okay, so I'm going to go in and add some Wink. Now this is a darker skin tone than I usually use, but my girl's going to be a bit darker than I usually do. So I'm just going to add it slowly because I'm not quite sure how strong this will end up being. Quite strong is the answer. So I'm going to just blend that out a bit. Now with this nice strong colour Wink, I'm wiping my brush off on a piece of paper towel and then spreading the colour. So finish blending that first layer of watercolour pencil into your drawing. And that way anything else you add on top will be nice and clean. Alright, so it's time to add some of the final colours, and I'm going to use Aquamarine on her eyes, Grey Matter in the little hat, and Flutter for the hair. The second one is applying the colour stick directly to your project. Now this is good if you would like darker, bolder lines, but you can get some streaky areas, so as long as you know that, and that's okay, because it will cling to your paper or your surfaces slightly differently, And it might look a little chunky in places, but it's a great way to lay down really thick colour. So that's number 2, is applying it direct to the project. Now it might sound silly, but I'm going to put a tiny bit of this down in the little polar bear as well. I mean, I know it won't colour his eyes, but I just want to pick up a little bit of that in the polar bear. Oh, that is a stunning colour combination. So remember, Aquamarine, Deep Truth and Eccentric, because it is gorgeous. Alright, so there's now a hint of the Aquamarine in the polar bear. Yum! And the first thing I'm going to do now is activate all of that yummy Flutter colour. So to get darker colours, use a combination of direct application and then blending, which is what I'm doing here. And then this one I'm going to see if I can add a tiny bit of touch of purple in, as I fade it out to the bottom. For those who haven't used Colorsticks before, the longer you leave them on the paper before activating them, the harder they are to move the colour. So if you would like really soft colours, apply using the water brush and don't use them direct to paper. If you would like bold colours, apply them direct to paper. If you would like bold lines, apply them direct to paper and let them sit there for a little while. I'm actually using all of these techniques so that I can get quite a large variety of colours in my piece. Anywhere from sort of a soft look to watercolory to quite harsh. I just love the variety that you can get from these. Now pay attention to the hairline so that it's nice and crisp if you can sort of get it that way. Whoops. And make sure that you've left enough difference and variation in the hair to make it look super awesome. Now I really like how that purple looked, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the Eccentric, just because I think it's looking amazing. So I'm just going to take that purple up into the black, put it right next to the edges so it kind of gets a bit of a blend going. Put it into some of the areas that are still wet, and then take it back in this other side as well. I'm pretty happy so far. This is where I start to take risks. The face is dry. Love how it looks. I'm going to add a few decorations. Kesha-esque. I'm hoping that this looks a little bit like a whale tail, because I'm going for sort of like the whole natural look. Alright, now for the hat. So it needs a little bit more darkness in here. So I'm going to paint this sort of standard colour and then come back in and add highlights and shadows. Add some of this awesome grey, which is so pretty. It's blending really well into those other colours. Now again, I'm not trying to be too perfect here. I'm just taking a whole lot of artistic license and adding it where I like the look of it. So I've still got my little reference photo here. Now try and keep the strokes light and feathery, just so it kind of looks a little bit more like fur. And then when all this is dry, I'm just going to go and add a tiny bit of detail. Add in some light, add in some dark, that kind of thing. Okay. So make the ears a little bit darker. Now I might even need to use some ink for this. We'll see how it goes. Number 3 is taking a water brush and touching it to the tip of the colour stick and applying colour like that. Now I love using this for splatters because you get nice bold colours, but it doesn't give you a lot of control over the depth of the colour, so it can be quite dark to start with and then will fade out to nothing. And if that's what you're looking to do, is sort of that ombre faded effect, that's perfect. So that's number 3, is touching a water brush directly to the colour stick. So they're my 3 favourite ways to use Jane Davenport's colour sticks. Now to let this dry and assess if it's finished or it needs something more. Alright, so I'm going to do something I haven't done before to finish it off. I'm going to use my gorgeous pastel palettes in Chilled and Mineral Eyes to play with the background. Now normally I would do watercolour on here, but I have these, so I'm going to try something. I'm going to add the colours very, very pale, very light, and just sort of in random, very soft areas. So I'm going to start with some blue. I'm just going to tap some of it off on the side here, and then just add a tiny little swish of colour to my page. Alright, so that's actually coming out quite pale, so I don't need to worry about it. Keeping with the frosty kind of feel. Adding it to the little snowdrift there. Okay, it's enough for the blue. So I think I'm going to add a little of the purple. And the wonderful thing here is if it turns out too dark, it is erasable. So I can really have a play, see what I like, what I don't like. If it's not working, remove it. So I'm adding a little bit of the purple and the lilac, just to sort of give us sort of a snowy sort of looking background. And then a bit of the violet colour. With that grey blue. I think I might leave it there for that palette. So that was Chilled. Now I'm just going to add a little from the Mineral palette. Got to keep this really nice and light, I think. So maybe some of this nice aqua sparkly blue. And a little of this white and gold pearl. Let me show you what that looks like. It's super subtle, very hard to see on camera, but it gives this gorgeous sort of snowy colour to the page. Just makes it look not quite so white. Now applying it with the brush is the way to get it looking the lightest. You can also use one of the little Jane Davenport applicators to add it and make it look a little darker. So you get it on the tip of the brush and then sort of rub it on. And you get the most gorgeous, gorgeous shimmer. Now I'm not going to go too crazy with that in spite of my natural inclinations. You know I love the shimmery stuff. Ooh, there's dark shimmer too. Oh, yum. And you can layer them. Yum. Oh yeah. So I'm just going to leave it there. You can see it's added the most gorgeous soft, soft shadows. So pretty. But I don't want to go too crazy. You know I could. We both know I could. You know I want to too. So I'm not. I'm going to resist. I'm going to add a tiny little bit of this dark shimmer on the little bear. Because what should he miss out? Just shadowy bits. And of course these colours blend so beautifully. Just so yum. So yum. You know I want to add more shimmer, but I won't. Oh, yes I will. Actually, I'm going to add some on the polar bear. Now I'm just going to swap to the other end so it's nice and clean. And go this gorgeous white with gold. But he has a little shimmer. Just where the highlights would be on the polar bear. Now I'm still going to go and add highlights, but this will give an extra something as well. It's a bit difficult getting into this little area here. Now I really would just want to go and add this everywhere because it is so awesome, but I'm not going to. If I keep telling myself that, maybe I won't. Can you see that? It's so pretty. I'll see if I can catch it on camera as well. Gotta get in the right light to see it. It is gorgeous, so subtle, but really beautiful. Almost there, everybody, almost there. All right, so I have my gorgeous Squid ink in Cave Black. And Jane's Wild and Free stamp. I'm just going to add that here. So I've got two main things left to do. I'm going to add some splashes to the background, and I'm going to use the same colours of Colorsticks that we've got in the project. So I'm going to use the Aquamarine, and I want this to be strong if possible. Give it its best go. So I'm just inking up my water brush here. The fine splatters, make sure it's not particularly wet. For fatter splatters, really give it a good squeeze. Alright, so that's the Aquamarine, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the Eccentric. Now I'm just doing it over some plastic here, just in case I make a really big mess. So I'm adding fine splatters first, so I can get them sort of closer without getting on anything. Then I'm squeezing the water brush, getting a bit more colour, and squeezing until it's almost ready to drip, and then add some more. Be very careful around the little polar bear. You don't want to get too much splatter sort of on him. And then last, it's the Deep Truth. Alright, so I've just got a little quickie glue pen. It just looks like this. And I'm just going to add some of this glue to the little moon on her face and the little necklace. And then once it's dry, I can go in and add some foil. Now when working over watercolours, sometimes the little pen gets clogged, so make sure you keep cleaning it and let that dry. So grab a little sheet of foil and place it down over the glue. Now if it hasn't covered everything you'd like it to, just pop more down and press again. Now if you find any of it hasn't taken, just add a little bit more glue, and then suddenly you'll have the most beautiful foil on your image. Add some funnel highlights with a white Sharpie marker, or if you're lucky enough to have one, a white Jane Davenport marker. Now I'm making sure to keep all my marks scruffy so that that really fits in with the feeling of light pale fur. I might add a little pencil, I don't know, just to give it a bit more of a hint, but honestly, I think that pale headdress against the dark looks amazing. Alright, so it needed a little bit more depth, so I've just gone in with some carbon black acrylic paint from Golden. Any black paint will work. And a little angle brush. And you can see I've added a little bit of dark paint to the ears just to enhance the shadows, and a little bit to points in the hair just to make that a little bit darker. I've also gone and added a little very faint gold circlet around the forehead, and that's just to help break up that line from where the washi sheet underneath ends and where I've started colouring, because it was a dead straight line. It was bothering me. So now adding that little circlet has visually broken up that line, and I'm much happier. The final touch here is I'm just going to use some of the same carbon black mixed with some fluid, airbrush fluid, in this little applicator here. You'll have seen me use this before. I've got one in gold and one in black, and I'm just going to add some tendrils in the hair. I hope you've enjoyed this art journal page using Jane Davenport's palette pastels in 2 different ways and her gorgeous Colorsticks in 3 different ways to create this frosty spirit girl and her gorgeous little polar bear. Now, also remember, don't be afraid to draw on tracing paper first and then transfer it to your journal once you're happy. Alright, you know I'll be back with more soon, and hope you're following along with my Instagram, blog, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. If you like this and you'd like more great ideas, hit subscribe and make sure that you check the little box to get notifications, otherwise you'll miss half of what I post. And believe me, what's coming up in the next few months, you're going to want to see. So hit subscribe, follow, like, join me everywhere. I'll be back with more soon. Bye!